Despite the fact that the Detroit Lions just won their 11th victory of the year, the NFL is far from being celebratory about the Lions' feat. In fact, I would say they're much rather angry with the process. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, I'm just going to let you all know I am sorry that it has been a couple of days since I've put anything together. Obviously, with the fact that it's been the Thanksgiving holiday, spending time with family has definitely been more of a priority for me rather than making content. But now that I've actually had a moment to kind of, step aside, get a moment to actually, set myself up in my new location since I am at home. I'm using a room that I'm not normally usually in. I've now had a moment to actually, kind of set back, take a look at what's going on here, and actually talk about what we can realistically talk about within this whole sort of, I guess you could call situation that the Lions find ourselves in. Because first and foremost, the Lions, as we all know, have won their 11th game of the year, which is absolutely stupendous because I don't think we've ever had a situation before where we've gotten to 11 wins this fast in a season. That's number one. But number two, this is the first time since 1934, the inaugural season of the Detroit Lions, that they have actually won 10 straight games in a row. So just from that perspective, that victory we just had against the Bears was truly a special victory. Plus, on top of that, it was the first time I think we'd won at Thanksgiving in I think over a decade or something like that. And that also contributed to the fact that it was a very special victory. So there was a lot of things about that game against the Bears that we won that were particularly important. They were particularly milestone setting. But as good as that was for us Lions fans, I'm going to tell you this right now. The rest of the NFL is not exactly celebrating at the fact that the Lions are doing this well. The fact that the Lions are 11-1. The fact that the Lions are, at this position where they are literally on the cusp of sealing up the number one seed going into the NFC playoffs. Because this is not a position that the NFL is used to the Lions being in. And I think in some ways, the fact that the NFL is seeing the Lions continually defying all of the odds that it's had to go through to get to this point is something that I think, quite frankly, I could probably talk about another episode on, but I'm just doing this from a very broad perspective if we wanted to talk about it from that situation. Because let's think about it, folks. Ever since this season has started, the Lions have quite seriously defied every single expectation and odd that was placed in front of them. They have constantly had to defy the odds of every single thing that they've had to go up against. Let's first and foremost take a look at it from this perspective. The Lions have had to defy the history of their own team history. Because if you take a look at the Lions' team history over the years, it's not exactly been a pretty picture, folks. I mean, the Lions have been probably one of the most disorganized, mediocre franchises, not only in the entirety of the NFL history, but also in sports in general. I mean, you're talking about a team that has just not had a whole lot of success, and when it has had success, it's not exactly been sustained. But yet, if we take a look at how well the Lions have played over the last couple of years, they've had now 3 straight seasons of winning records, which is not something that the Lions are common to have, number one. But also, number two, we have had 2 straight 10-game winning seasons back-to-back, something that has not happened up until this point. So the Lions have actually had to defy, they have actually had to cut against the grain of what is their team history. So that's number one. But also number two, the Lions have also had to defy the tradition of their rivals. Let's understand something here, folks. When it comes to the NFC North and also prior the NFC Central, the Lions' rivals always seem to have this, for lack of a better word, kind of like contemptible attitude when it came to us. Like, oh, we were constantly beneath them. We weren't worth their time of day. We were kind of like this little brother that didn't know his place, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like we constantly were held in such such low regard compared to the other franchises, particularly the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings. Mostly the Bears and the Packers. The Vikings sometimes would get that way, but mostly Bears and Packers fans. And if we think about it, the Lions have also defied this tradition as well. So far this year, the Lions have beaten all of their rivals at least once. We've beaten the Bears, we've beaten the Packers, we've beaten the Vikings. We're going to play the Packers, and we're going to play the Vikings at home, and then we have to travel on the road to go play the Bears at Chicago. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is possible the Lions could, in theory, sweep the entire NFC North this year. I would not say it's highly probable, but it's not impossible. But again, if we also go to last year as well, the Lions won the majority of their games in the NFC North Division, going with a 4-2 record. And I think if we go even to 2022, I think we had a 4-2 record or a 5-1 record, something like that. You guys will correct me if I'm wrong, but the last couple of years, we have defied the tradition of our NFC North rivals to where it was like, listen, we were constantly a little brother that to them would never learn their place, but it's like, dude, last 3 years, we've been pretty much telling them, oh, really? That's what you think about us? Okay, step back. We're going to come in. We're going to kick some ass. We're going to let you know who's in charge now. And for at least the last 3 years, that's been the case. So that's number two way that the Detroit Lions have been defying the NFL, defying all odds to get to where they are right now. The third thing that the Lions have done to defy all odds is they've defied the powers of the NFL. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? What I specifically mean about that is that they've defied the refs. Like, let's understand and call it for what it is, folks. For the longest time, it always seemed like the NFL was out to get us when it came down to specific games, and it always came out with these bad, terrible, ludicrous, ridiculous calls that we would get from the referees. Every single time it would happen, it was like, dude, the NFL is continually finding ways to steal games from us, continually finding ways to give us bad calls to where we're losing games we should win. However, though, in times recent, that has drastically changed. Rather, instead, what we're seeing is either, one, the Lions are playing so much better to where they're not allowing the refs to have an impact, such as, hey, you know what, we still might get a bad call or two, but it's so, irrelevant to the case because we're either so far up or the other team we're playing is so far bad, it's not going to hurt us. Or, even when we do get bad calls and it does have the potential to hurt us, we as a team are able to overcome that, we're able to make plays, and we're still able to find ways to get the victory. Best case I can think of is the game we just had against the Chicago Bears with that absolutely ridiculous defensive pass interference call that was called, I think it was on either Khalil Dorsey or Kendall Vildor towards the end of the game. It was like, listen, you go back to that play, it was quite obvious there was no DPI there, but the refs still threw it, gave the Bears an extra chance to, try and get a score, try and tie. But yet, what happened? Our defense stood tall. Certainly, Matt Eberflus didn't do anything to help his team out by having bad mismanagement of the clock. But still, our team found a way to overcome adversity from the NFL refs not giving us a favorable call. So that's number 3 way that we've defied the NFL, that we have defied all expectations and overcome the odds. Way number 4 that we've defied the NFL is that I would say, for lack of a better word or phrase, that we have defied the law of averages. Let's think about this, folks. And tell me another time in NFL history when a team like the Detroit Lions has had so much success when it comes to the draft. Think about it, folks. The last 4 years that we have had Brad Holmes as our GM, we have quite literally defied the law of averages when it comes to drafting players. Every single draft, we have gotten exponentially great talent at certain positions. First draft, Amon-Ra St. Brown, freaking Aleem McNeil. obviously Penei Sewell. The next draft, we get Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams. Those guys have been fantastic for us as well. The third draft, I mean, for crying out loud, the first 4 players off the board were just absolutely fantastic. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Sam Laporte. I mean, dude, absolutely phenomenal drafting. And then this draft, I know some people are still kind of like trying to figure out where they are on Terry and Arnold, but it's like, we've seen the results of when Arnold is in versus when he's not in. I mean, do you really want to see any more evidence of Kindle Vildor being out there versus when we have Terry and Arnold out there? I mean, it's night and day difference, folks. And that's been going on now for 4 straight years. The Lions have quite honestly defied all law of averages when it comes to the ability to acquire talent. Not only even through the draft, but also through trades, free agency, and we've made it work for us. That's not something that happens very often in the NFL. In fact, I would say it's a very rare occurrence. But we've also defied, on top of that, the NFL power system, or what I would like to say is the powers that be. And I'm talking about the top teams in the NFL. I mean, if you think about it, for the longest time, the top NFL teams were teams like the Patriots, the Packers, the Cowboys. These are teams that for the longest time you always thought of like, okay, these are teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl run. They're going to be the guys that are going to be most likely at the end of the year vying for a Super Bowl spot. But now it's like, we as the Lions, we have defied those types of teams. I mean, you go to last year's game, we nearly defied the 49ers. I'm not at all worried about them this year. Last year, we should have defied the Cowboys. Came out this year, absolutely spanked their ass in freaking front of national television in Jerry World. Patriots are a nobody team now, and it's like, dude, most every team that we've gone up against, we've pretty much been like, oh yeah, you guys think you're something? Let us show you what we truly are in relation to you. That's what I'm trying to say. When it comes down to it, you think about the other teams right now in the NFL that are considered the power teams, like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. The Chiefs aren't really scaring anybody this year. They have literally been holding on by the skin of their teeth through most games, and it's not even against really great opponents that they're beating this way. The Bills, they're a good team, but again, dare I remind you all, 2 years ago, we went toe-to-toe with the Bills when we were a much less freaking talented team, and they were a much more talented team, and now roles are reversed. So, again, I'm not as worried about the Bills as I would have been, say, 2 years ago. And the Ravens, yeah, the Ravens last year, they spanked our ass. But the Ravens are not the same team from last year. And in fact, I would say that we've kind of caught up to them in some ways. But I'm going to say this. Probably the one area where most Lions fans are worried about is the injury issue. And this is why I'm going to say that the Lions have defied the NFL on this, and why I think Lions fans really seriously need to take a step back about this worry about the injury problems. I understand. We have a lot of injuries right now, especially on the defense. But let's understand something here. This is a team that has been built to endure this. This is a team that knows how to get past adversity. This is a team that knows how to take said adversity on the chin and keep finding ways to win. Again, we were already going into that game against the Bears with a hell of a lot of injuries on the defense. And we came out with even more injuries, and yet we still found a way to win. To win. But here's the thing. Everybody's now like, oh man, we got all these injuries. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it. Time out here. Do we not know what team we're talking about here? Do we not know what head coach we're talking about here? Do we not know what culture we're talking about here? I mean, for crying out loud, this hat pretty much tells the story. It's a grit culture. We're not going to whine. We're not going to bemoan. We're not going to cry. We're just going to get the job done. So when I hear Lions fans that are all of a sudden thinking, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to win against the Packers. I don't know if we're going to win against the Bills or any of these other teams. Like, dude, respectfully, shut the hell up. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so, flippant about it, but it's like, dude, this is the same type of mindset that was had 2 years ago. And it's like, this is not the same team from even 2 years ago. This team is much more talented. It's much more stacked. It's much more, tough in its ability to understand, yeah, we're going to go through adversity. We're going to have things that are not going to go our way, whether it's injuries, calls, whatever have you, but we're still going to get the job done. And let's put this even into further perspective here. Just because we have a lot of injuries right now, let's think about it. some of those guys that are dealing with injuries, we're going to start getting them back here, if not by the next time we play against the Packers, the week after that. Because here's the thing, folks. I'm just going to hate to say this, but it's the truth. At some point, you're going to lose. The fact that the Lions have gone 12 games and only have lost one, I consider that to be pretty damn good. So it's like, you know what? As much as I hate to lose, you're sometimes going to lose, and there's not a thing you can do about it. But if you continue to put up the good fight, I can respect that a hell of a lot better than just laying down and saying, hey, there's nothing we can do. We might as well just, pick up our pads and just go home. Like, no, forget that. We're going to continue to fight no matter what the case might be. That's the kind of mindset that Dan Campbell and these Lions have. It's like, listen, we don't care what the odds say. We don't care what teammates are out. We don't care what teammates we have. We're going to go into this game with the same mindset we have regardless if we have all of our players or not. We're going to fight. We're going to scratch. We're going to claw. We're going to do whatever we have to get the victory. And if sometimes it means we don't get the victory, so be it. We're going to learn from what we did wrong, and we're going to learn how to improve upon that. But what I'm trying to get across here is that even though we've been dealing with a lot of injuries, we have still found ways to win. And there's nothing that says we can't find ways to win in the future. Because, like I was trying to hint at here, we're going to have guys that are going to be coming back from injury here relatively soon. Alex Anzalone, he should be coming back here within the next week or two, maybe 3 at most. So we're going to have him for the home stretch going into the final part of the season. And hey, I know the linebacking core is one area that's been hit quite a bit. So getting him back will be really, really important to us. I also know that, hey, Carlton Davis, he's week to week or day to day, however Dan Campbell said it. But it's like, listen, we're going to get him back here at full strength pretty quickly as well. I understand that things right now, they look kind of bleak. But again, let's take the recency bias out of this and let's start thinking about, okay, things right now don't look that great. But what about, a couple of days down the road? What about maybe a week down the road? What about maybe 2 weeks down the road? Yeah, it looks bad right now. But is it really that bad to where we have to start literally, act like we have to start bailing water because the ship's going down? No, back the hell up. Let's reevaluate here, folks, because I'm telling you this right now. I expect the Lions are going to continue to win in spite of what people are saying about the fact of their injury situation, about everything else. And here's the reason why. Like I said, Dan Campbell is not going to be the kind of guy that's going to allow his team to have a quitter's mindset, to allow themselves to feel sorry for themselves. Because it's going to be like, listen, nobody else is going to feel sorry for us. There's no reason we should feel sorry for ourselves. We have to adapt a mindset that, listen, no matter what we're working with, no matter what we're dealing with, no matter what adversity we have to handle, we're going to go out and we're going to do our jobs. And whatever happens on the field, the results will take care of themselves. That's the way this team has been built. And again, kind of like what Jared Goff said in that one press conference, this team is built differently. This team is built to take adversity and to run with it. Where most teams would buckle under adversity, would be like, man, this isn't fair. Everything's going against us. We might as well just quit and go home. We don't want to get ourselves hurt. We don't want to get ourselves all roughed up because of something that's not going to go our way. This team looks at it and says, oh, really? You think we can't win? You think we can't succeed? You think we're going to get our bell rungs? Okay, step back, my friends. We're going to come out here and we're going to shock you. We're going to shock the NFL world. And I would think after the last 3 to 4 years of where the Lions have done that, you would think Lions fans would have learned the lesson by now that underestimating your own team is not a good idea. Again, being a biblical-minded person, being a Christian, how many times did the damn Israelites doubt God and doubt, that whole process while they were in the freaking wilderness? And yet God kept telling them, hey, you guys shouldn't doubt me. I'm not trying to equate the story in terms of the religious aspect here, but it's like, listen, how many more times do the freaking Lions have to prove to us, the fans, that root for them, that, listen, doubting us is not a good idea. Even if things don't look the greatest, don't give up. Don't start doubting us. This team has the experience. This team has the ability to go through the adversity that they're dealing with now because, oh, that's right. They've gone through it before. They've already gone through the fire. They've already gone through all of this experience, and they've come through for it the better on the other side of all that adversity. They know what they're doing. They know how to handle it. They've learned their lessons before, and that puts them in a position much better than most other teams. And that's why I'm saying, when you take a look at how the Lions have continued to defy every single adversity they've had handed to them, whether it's their past history, whether it's their injury history, whether it's the fact that they've overcome the law of averages, whether it's the powers of the NFL, whether it's the tradition of their rivals, whatever one of the things I've talked about during this episode, that's what is pissing the NFL off so much, because it's like, listen, this is not typical Detroit Lions football. Typically by now, the Lions would have done something to screw themselves over. But in fact, all the Lions are doing is screwing the NFL over, and they are pissing not only the NFL front offices off, they're pissing off other teams, because now you're hearing all these teams that are saying, oh, they're cheating, they're playing dirty. No, we're not. It's called you guys don't like the fact that we're winning, and now you don't have the Lions to be your punching bag. So now you guys have to come up with excuses as to why we're winning. Oh, the NFL is giving them favorable calls. We're cheating. It's like, dude, that's not the way it is. It's called you guys don't like the fact that we're winning, so now you guys are going to cry, whine, and moan in the corner. That's the way it is. And you know what? As much as of an annoyance it is, I actually kind of dig it, because it's like, hey, you know what? Get used to it, NFL, because we're not going anywhere. But anyway, folks, I'm going to end this episode. I just wanted to give a quick episode to kind of get myself back into the groove of things, so that way you guys could say I was making something and I wasn't ignoring y'all. But having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, not only to make sure you subscribe, but make sure you also hit that bell notification icon, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also want to encourage y'all, please, make sure you share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can, because the more we can do that, the greater the channel can grow and the greater the channel can spread. And with that being said, my friends, whether you guys are a first-time viewer, this is the upteenth time that you've seen me, I hope you all have enjoyed the content and you learned something from it. I also hope you guys got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. Hopefully everybody out there had themselves a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a great time with their friends and families. And with that being said, to everybody, I hope y'all have a great day. Hope y'all have got something in your life that you're absolutely, fantastically happy for. And until the next time we meet, my friends, God bless, and I'll see you all in the next episode.